for takeoff. Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to the very first live developer Q&A of 2022. We are so glad to have everyone in chat with us today. Thank you for joining. We are really excited to be here. Of course, we have our intrepid three below me. We'll do some brief introductions. My name is Jane, first of all. I'm community manager here for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And below me, we have Jorg Newman. Hey, Jorg.
Hi, good to see you, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much for joining, Jorg. In the middle, we have Seb Wloch. Welcome, Seb.
Hello.
Hello, and last but not least, we have Marcel Boussard.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and a Happy New Year. Super pleased to be here and back again.
Yes, Happy New Year to all. I'll just briefly go over the agenda for everyone who's wondering when you can ask your questions and what we're going to do today. So Jorg's going to kick it off here. We're going to talk about the roadmap of 2022, what's kind of coming. We got World Update 7 just around the corner next week. We have our local legend 2. We're going to have a couple guests. We'll make them little surprises for you that are going to talk more about these things, though. We have a famous flyer plane we're going to discuss, a new development partner you're going to meet. We'll talk about World Update 8, talk about another local legend, and Seb has prepared for us a really fantastic presentation with several videos of some of the sim improvements coming in 2022. And we'll also take a look at our feedback snapshot for the year, what that's going to look like. And then we'll move to the open Q&A where, of course, we're going to take your questions as well as some of the forum questions that we've already gotten over the past several weeks. So that is our schedule. If you're forgetting that, you can always type in !agenda to reiterate everything we're going to be doing today. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and kick it off to Jorg.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. It's been too long. It's been almost 2 months. Hope everybody had a really great break and that you are as excited about 2022 as we are. If you go to the next slide, last time we spoke, we had just launched the Game of the Year edition and then the Reno Air Races expansion. And that was all in November. And you could see from the telemetry that lots of you guys had fun over the holidays. And I just wanted to say, next slide, awesome engagement. That's all I can say. We are breaking records. November and December have seen some of the highest engagement numbers ever on any flight simulator. And January is off to an amazing start. We will likely exceed December, which is awesome. We added hundreds of thousands of newcomers to a growing base of simmers. And what's really interesting is we now have almost twice as many people simming as we did in the middle of 2021. So it's quite something. I'm super happy. And then third parties have been killing it. We now have 228 partners. They have put out 866 add-ons on PC, 561 on Xbox, and it's growing fast on Xbox. 613 airports, 68 aircraft, and it's really, I always say it's like a box of chocolate. Getting up in the morning, going to the Facebook pages, reading forums, reading websites, and what people are making is super cool. Thank you so much, and amazing products. And given that we're kicking off 2022, I thought it might be interesting to show you our roadmap for what we are planning on doing on our side. So the first thing is world updates. You know what world updates are: updated imagery, updated 10 cities, updated POIs, airports, everything. We're planning 6, and I put in like when we are planning them. There's always a little bit of, are we going to hit those dates exactly? But I think that's what we're shooting for. And alongside the world updates come local legends. We started that with the Junkers U-52 back in August last year. And we're continuing this with the Fokker F7 here with the World Update Australia, and we're planning 6 more. The next thing is Famous Flyers, which is a series that we wanted to kick off last year with the Antonov. Then we ran into some interesting licensing topics. We're planning 5. They come out with sim updates at the same time. And then lastly, and probably the most mysterious of what I call major releases. And I basically said, look, there's going to be a surprise. It's coming soon. Can't talk about it yet. But soon we can talk about it. And then in May comes Maverick. In June comes another surprise, a big surprise. Then in the fall come gliders and another surprise, and then helicopter. So we have full year to look forward to. But it all starts actually next week with Sim Update 7. And we have a little trailer, just a teaser, actually.
We do. All right. Sim Update 7.
All right, just a teaser. The update, so World Update 7 launches on January 31st at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And just to give you a quick overview and give you a sense, so about 60 people worked on this. Bing Maps provided aerials. They worked on integrating new DEM. We worked with an organization in Australia called Geospatial. They gave us 3 terabytes of data, about 500,000 files. All that was integrated. We worked with Orbx, which is an Australia-based company. They built all 94 POIs and 4 airports, so Long Reach, Mount Beauty, Shell Harbor, and Paraburdo. I always mispronounce that one. And what was great about that is they know Australia inside out, so they could really help bring the country and the continent really to life. Then Bing Maps contributed 11 what we call 10 cities, photogrammetry cities. So we have Sydney and Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane, Perth, Hobart, Cairns, Darwin, Townsville, Bunbury, and Mackay. And we have a new team that we set up here at Microsoft, it's like 13 people, and they're helping us speed up. So I'm very hopeful that we're going to get more photogrammetry cities as we go throughout 2022. Very cool. Perfect Flight made new missions. So 5 landing challenges, 6 discovery flights, 5 bush trips, and so we'll obviously put everything together. But it's our biggest update yet, and it's really looking cool. I've been talking to some Australian press over the last few days, and they love what they see. So it's hopefully you enjoy it too. Mm-hmm. And then alongside it comes Local Legend 2. We just talked about this. Mm-hmm. Here's a quick trailer. So again, it's just a teaser. This one is the Southern Cross, which is just one of the planes that are coming in this package. We picked it because basically Sir Charles Kingsford Smith did amazing things with that plane, right? He did the Pacific crossing, and he's the most famous Australian aviator. But there's a lot more to it, and that is why we've invited the actual creator, the head of creation for this plane, Ellise from Orbx.
Yes, Ellise, if you'd like to join us, we'd love to say hello, talk with you for a little bit.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me today.
Hello. Glad to have you.
Here.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, as Jörg said, my name is Ellise. I'm the Business Development Manager for Orbx and the project lead for the Fokker F7. So we have a team of roughly 16 in-house people and many external people helping us with this. And as Jörg said, the first one we started with was the Southern Cross. We had some issues with references, and fortunately the Harz Museum helped us out with a lot of references for a modern cockpit, but still issues with the original cockpit, but we've worked very hard to get pictures and research and do those kind of things for that. So there's actually 6 variants of the plane. So there's 2 of Southern Cross. So we have the original cockpit that was flown by Smithy. We have a modern cockpit which has modern day avionics, modern day, there aren't GPS there, but radios and nav radios, so you can navigate around. And I was actually flying at the weekend with the team as well, and flying around testing all the nav radios and things, which is awesome. So there's two variants of the Southern Cross. We have the Josephine Ford, which is the ski variant. I think there's a picture there, Jane. I can't quite see the stream. There we go. So the ski variant is Josephine Ford, and that was the variant that was flown up to the North Pole and back by Richard Byrd. And we've had great fun with this plane. I'm an avid snowboarder, and we've got skiers on the team. We've actually been flying around, not doing the landing challenge at Courchevel, but actually doing the landing challenge on the ski slope and then skiing the plane down the slope.
Nice.
We've had great fun with this one, actually testing the ski mechanics as well, which is brilliant. So and then the next variant we have is Friendship, which is the float variant. I believe we have a screen as well there, Jane.
Yes.
Yeah, did. So Friendship was actually the transatlantic flight that Amelia Earhart was a passenger in, so famous for that particular flight as well. And again, we've had great fun with this one, actually doing water racing, testing the mechanics out of trying to get it to ski on one ski, and have great fun with these planes. So the F7 cruises around about 170 kilometers an hour, so 90 knots. It's not a fast plane, but you can fly it slowly and you can fly up to those speeds as well. It's got a good service ceiling. It's up around about 15,500 feet. So it's a beautiful plane to fly. And it's absolutely amazing for VFR flying, certainly with the clouds and the sunshine behind you and coming through the canopy and the wings as well. We also have other variants. So we've done some transport variants, and that's the F7A1M. So it's a single engine motor with some special cabins and some special liveries for the 1M. And we also, sorry, for the 1A, and we also have the 3M variants, so the tri-motor, and again with transport liveries. So all in all, at the moment, there's around 11 liveries, 12 liveries, depending on licensing, but around 11 or so liveries, all faithfully recreated. The biggest issue we've had is obviously references. It's a 1920s plane. And we're fortunate to be able to get into the Henry Ford Museum to actually do 3D scans. So with Friendship, with Josephine Ford, we've had the full 3D scans of everything on the particular plane. So it's faithfully recreated from those scans. Everything is kind of millimeter perfect, which is awesome.
Wow.
They're amazing planes to fly. We've had a lot of people really enjoying this project. And it's not been a labor of love. We've actually loved working on this plane. It's been absolutely amazing. The whole team are so enthused about this, and the trailer gives me goosebumps every time I see it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's due out very, very soon. And it certainly complements the World Update coming as well from Australia. And really looking forward to, I think we're doing a community stream week after next. I'm really looking forward to flying with people on that as well. So it's an absolutely amazing plane to fly. And it's beautiful to see in the sky as well. And even the shadow on the ground I get goosebumps every time I fly it. It's absolutely amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, the one thing I don't know if you said it, but we also recreated the original missions. So
yes, yeah.
There's some bush trips. They are really, really long. Like, I think it was 83 hours that Kingsford Smith flew over the Pacific, but we got it. We have all the waypoints and all the information, and we're really trying to celebrate the accomplishment, really, right? It's the first one that actually crossed the Pacific. Big deal. Actually, that plane was used, as Ellise said, in so many accomplishments. So it's cool. Anyways, we think it's going to be a worthy successor to the Junkers U-52, and we hope you all enjoy it when it comes out January 31st.
Yeah, and at least we do look forward to you joining in on for a community fly-in. I think it's next Friday that you'll be joining us, as well as some other members of Orbx. So for chat, anyone who's going to want to fly along with us for that stream, it's going to be a blast. We'll look at a ton of Australia POIs, and as well as a much deeper look into the Fokker as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellise.
Thank you for
Thanks.
joining us, Ellise. We really
Bye.
appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thanks.
All right. And next is, I'm not sure I see the slide, Jane.
Next.
Famous
Famous
flyer.
flyer.
So we talked about, so it was interesting. I called it famous flyer number 1. So the story on the, because some people asked, what's the deal with the Antonov? Well, the Antonov is done. If you ask Andre, he definitely will tell you it's done, and we keep poking him on, hey, a few more fixes, but it's basically done. And we are still talking to Antonov about getting the license. So given that, we have another plane that was intended to be famous flyer 2, but we might actually ship it first. And the target date for this is March 1st, alongside Sim Update 8. And so what that means is on the development roadmap, I think I'd written Sim Update 8 was 2.22 or something like this, and we moved it to 3.1 just to have a little bit more testing time.
Okay.
But so this new plane that we're announcing as a new development partner. And here we go. Next slide. Ta-da.
Fernando.
Fernando. Hello. And I think he's here.
Yes, Fernando, if you'd like to turn your camera on and we can chat with you for a few minutes. Awesome.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Fernando. Welcome to the
Hi.
stream.
Thank you. Well, I would like to talk about the D17, which I think you are seeing in the slide right now.
Yes.
Well, this is a beautiful old aircraft. I would say an extraordinary aircraft. It's an icon of aviation. Some people say it's like the Cadillac of the air. It's a very popular and beloved one. One special thing about it is the lower wing is moved forward than the upper wing, making it a very particular shape when you see it from the profile. This aircraft was used vastly in the war for ambulance, transport, and cargo. And after the war, it was converted for mostly civilian use. It is a classical aircraft with a lot of history behind. And we at Carenado try to recreate it very close to reality as possible in every aspect of the aircraft. In the aircraft, for example, when you sit in the virtual cockpit, you can almost smell the leather. You can touch and feel the parts of the cockpit that are made of wood, and hear the powerful 450 HP radial engine. By the way, I highly recommend flying it using VR. It's like being there. The sensation is incredible. In terms of performance, the aircraft is very close to the real one in all stages of flight. Takeoff, climb, stall, cruise, landing, descent, everything is well done. We have read a lot of documents and all papers that we found, trying to recreate the performance as much as possible. The visual engine of the simulator is excellent, and that allows us to recreate not only the general shape of the aircraft, but also the many details, and that allows us to capture the sense of the aircraft. The real aircraft is a really piece of art, and we try really hard to make it as close as possible to the real thing. It's a very nice aircraft.
Absolutely, we're very excited for the
Yes.
train.
It's a very, very nice one. And for those of you who don't know Carenado, but I guess many of you already know us, we are a company which develop aircraft for the most popular flight simulator, but we're mainly focused on general aviation area for the Microsoft Flight Simulator right now. We try to bring to people a high quality products that are capable of recreate simplified flight experience simulation, but very close to reality. That's what we are. We invite everyone to try the D17 as soon as it is available. And also invite people to try all our products. We already have 8 products in the marketplace.
It's true. Yep. I think Chaz knows exactly who you are, your company. I see a lot of excitement for it. So we really appreciate you, Fernando, coming on the stream. And I think this plane is going to be fantastic in the sim. Really looking forward to it.
Good to see you, Fernando. Thanks for joining the.
You're welcome. Bye-bye to everyone.
All right.
Bye. All right. And then, as it is tradition, when we are close to launching a world update, we announce the next one. And I can't see what folks seeing, but world update 8 is people can probably see it already.
Yep. Iberia.
So Portugal and Spain. I brought a few pictures. We are making really good progress. So we have new dam, really good dam, 2-meter dam for Spain. We got 6 new tin cities, 99 POIs, 4 airports. Gaia is making all the models for this one, and we get new missions from Perfect Flight. And I've flown around in it, and it looks stunning. You see a couple of pictures here. Here's Barcelona. We have lots of bridges, lots of fun to fly in. Here we go. All right, and then alongside it, as we just said, and I'll make this quick, is local legend number 3. Like the Southern Cross, we wanted to do something that's meaningful, and in this case, it's the first transatlantic flight. But the next thing is important, from Spain to South America. So, but it's a group of Spanish aviators with Roman Franco and 3 others flew this in 1926. And it's a real meaningful accomplishment, but there's stamps in both sides. You know, here's a picture of it. I think this is in Montevideo or something. So it's a famous plane. And the really great news is that the plane is preserved. So it's the next picture, I think, shows you it in Argentina in a museum. We are scanning that. And then there's also a replica that we also scanned already in Friedrichshafen, Germany, in the Dornier Museum. Dornier has been awesome. I have had the total pleasure. Like I totally geek out on these things. I think you know this. So I can highly recommend this. Michael van der Meij wrote this book called A Lightning Coming Over the Sea. It's great. His family, his mom started collecting pictures 70-something years ago. He continued it. They have an unbelievable wealth of knowledge. They helped us quite a bit making this plane. And the developer of this plane is Oliver Moser, the guy who made the Junkers. And he's going to join us next time and then we're going to show off the plane and whatnot. So anyways, that's it. World Update 8 and a Dornier plane and water plane coming to you.
Yep.
And then just to show here the world update, the roadmap. I'll keep doing this, right? I think it's kind of fun. It's almost like the advent calendar or something, where you open up a little dingy. So we do this now every time we meet. I'm gonna open a few. So you see, we have a ton of things coming this year. But now for all that, I saw we need to get to the questions. We need to talk to sim updates, and Seb has a lot to say about that. So Seb, go.
Welcome, Seb.
Yeah. So can we show my slide if you have it?
Yeah.
So basically, I talked a little bit about this. I think on the sometime last autumn. This is really trying to build the road to helicopters over 2022. And we didn't just want to do helicopters on one side, but also make sure this feeds back into regular airplanes. Basically, the sim for airplanes, how it's been built, is simulating air that flows over surfaces. Not yet. Oh yeah, you can start it.
Okay.
It simulates air that flows over surfaces, and for airplanes, these surfaces couldn't really move very fast on the plane, right? We could have control surfaces moving, but that was about it. We did not simulate extremely fast moving surfaces, just like for example propeller blades. Propellers was basically using just the old FSX based propeller system, which just calculates a force and applies it on a point. So for helicopters, obviously you need to have surfaces which can move fast, which can twist, which can flap, which can do all sorts of things. And so we've implemented that over the last months and are starting to use it on airplanes. On sim update 8, 3 airplanes are going to get this on the base planes. And just one here is one example. So this simulates the propellers accurately as if it was any other surface or the wing or any other surface of the airplane. So when the airplane is moving, you just get native P factor, you get all the effects, all the torque, everything is natively simulated and accurate. This fixes many of the last problems we had on the turboprop planes. So prop drag now works, etc., etc. I'm going to show a video later on that. So here you see just how it simulates the spinning airplane propeller spinning way faster than the frames. So at the beginning you can see there's surfaces for each blade, but when it goes faster, it gets completely out of sync, and there's some basically more plane. Yeah, the mesh changes, but also the simulation, just to make sure we simulate the entire movement and area of the propeller disc. You can see the force vectors slowly growing when it accelerates. So this is we can skip to the next video.
Okay.
This is showing the plane in a climb on the next video. So here you can see the forces are much stronger, and you can see how they don't really point forward, right? They're slightly off, because this is how, when the surface, just like imagine the propeller blade is a wing, when it goes through the air, the relative wind, it just creates lift into that direction and drag into these directions. So you can here really see the torque. So the King Air has 2 propellers spinning in the same direction, which means that the torque is not counted at all, and so you get a really strong P factor torque, and that you can really feel on takeoff on the updated King Air. This is really very strong. On the next video, just showing, well, if you have you will see what happens. So for example, here there's a feathered. So feathering now completely works. You can see that the propeller is completely stopped. And it's nice because it's a real physical simulation of the propeller as if it was a body. So now when I do rolling and banking, you will see how, because they are wings, you can see the little lift vectors, how the propeller stays actually, it doesn't rotate with the plane because, well, it's an independent body. I'm going into the cockpit. I'm going to change all the feathering settings in the cockpit, and then it's going to make the propeller spin. We also get prop drag now correctly works because, well, it's all really physically simulated surfaces. So everything that was hard-coded on the old propeller system that we reuse basically from FSX now is all natively simulating these effects. So yeah, prop drag, feathering, all the beta angles, everything that was really missing on the propellers is now simulated. So I'm stopping. You see, I'm stopping the right propeller, which is slowly stopping to spin. So even the spinning, how fast it stops spinning, this is all realistic. And you can see again the force vector, like the propeller now acts as if there was a little wing, adding, tiny bits of lift on one side. This system is open to plane creators. It's going to be documented. It's basically as simple as just describing how the wing is, how the propeller is the shape, right? It's just like the rest of the flight model. You describe the shape of the propeller, like the angle, how it's twisted, how aspect ratio, all sorts of different parameters, and based on that, the engine then computes the airflow around the propeller and simulates it correctly. So it was pretty easy to port these 3 planes. We could reuse the propeller settings and just adjust it to the actual shape. Another thing that's really important for helicopters is to have an airflow that is really simulated around the airplane and impacted by the aircraft itself. The aircraft changes the airflow, and on an airplane, there's a few effects like prop wash, fuselage shadowing, deep stall. There isn't that many. It's not that important, and it was hard-coded in the simulation. Now, for helicopters, we had to really simulate this realistically. But this benefits back and feeds back into the simulation of airplanes. So with sim update 9, we're going to open this on, again, a selection of airplanes. And also for a third party, it's completely flexible and can be parameterized. So there's a lot of parameters on the airflow, like that you can adjust to control this and how it affects the different surfaces of the airplane. So here you can see, for example, the engine starting and how the turboprop engines suck the air in front and throw it backwards. You can see a little mini tornado on the right side, which is completely, it's just emergent because you can't really control what the air is doing. The weather engine feeds all the data into the simulation, and if there's a turbulence or a little gust or something, it's never really the same wind here. So see again the start on one side. So here, what you already see flowing here is already just the wind gusts that were there before, and when the engine starts spinning, it creates this airflow. So for helicopters, really important because there's all sorts of effects. When the helicopter is close to the ground, it creates vortex. We're going to show that a little bit later. But for the airplane, also quite a few effects. Here is in flight. You can see the propeller blowing air backwards, so it's green. And you can see the lift on the wings pushing the air down. And you can see how it not just impacts the air over the wing. I mean, when I'm going down, there's not much lift, but now it actually propagates, right? Because the air is pulled down by the wing, but then there's basically a depression on top of the wing, and so more air is pulled down. It really goes back like almost like a shock wave, but it's not a shock wave in this case. But it's just the propagation of the pressure is working like that. Here you can see I'm stalling, so there was a little bit of airflow detaching, and when you're stalling and the airflow detaches, this is going to hit the elevator actually, and so it's going to create native simulation of deep stall. Again, you can see the airflow on the wing, and when I'm trying to stall here, you can maybe see it slowly detaching at some point. There's also the flaps now, which are out, and I didn't stall this time. Oh, this is a same thing on a jet. So you can see the air is accelerated behind the jet engine. I think I'm stalling here too, showing because it's pretty interesting to see how the air detaches on the wing. And same thing, this also, when the air is detached, it's gonna hit the elevator here. Here you can see the airflow detaching and reattaching pretty quickly right now. And the depression it creates around the airplane. So the benefits for airplanes are native prop wash, native deep stall, native shadowing of wings. We get accurate calculation of the pressure changes over and below the wing, so we can calculate the temperature drops. So we get native calculation of condensation vortexes, or the wing tick vortexes. All these little condensations are going to be accurate depending on the weather, dew point, and humidity, and all this is now accurately available. And so for plane makers, what this is going to mean is there's going to be new variables where you can look up if you want to have basically like the temperature on top of the wing, and then you can inject that into a effect of, for example, of condensation. So this simulation for plane makers, you can enable it as a write only. You don't ever read back, so you can still get the condensation, pressure, all the effects, but it doesn't feed back into the airplane, so you don't have any impact yet. And then you can enable step by step the effects, and basically you can enable 90% of all the simulation feeding back into the surface simulation without really having to redo the flight model. The only thing that really changes if you feed back the vertical component into the elevator, you have to retrim. There's things like that, because basically you'll see it on the video that the air on the elevator usually goes down more because it's been deflected by the wing. And even though it's far behind, it's still deflected, and it's all being sucked down. So there's this change. It's usually half a degree incidence. So big benefit is prop wash becomes native. Instead of having to tweak it with parameters in the file, basically you can just now run the sim and you get accurate prop wash, all based on the propeller simulation. So here you can see how it spins around the propeller. It gets sucked in the front, accelerated by the propeller, blown backwards, and then we're going to turn around, show what happens. Basically, the prop wash impacts the plane, but it hits the tail, and so which not only deflects the air, but also it pushes on the tail. So you get this prop wash force on the control surfaces. Here you see I'm accelerating again, and you see the air rebounding on the ground, going back up. And now when I turn the, here you see, when I turn the rudder, the air gets deflected on one side or the other side. And the air is pushed one way and the wing is pushed the other way. So you get basically you get the prop wash effect, which is simulated with this. And this is a free effect, right? It's easier even to implement on a plane than hard coding and entering prop wash parameters, like how much it's pushing left or right. And then you get all the effects that you have to enter. And here an advantage is it's melted into the weather. So if there's a very strong wind on one side, the prop wash is gonna be deflected on one side. It's much richer and more true to life than it used to be. So that you can see I can use the prop wash to lift the tail a little bit. There's a whole bunch of new visualization tools which are coming. So this tool here is going to be available to visualize how the air is flowing. Even if you only enable the part of the simulation, if you don't feedback, you can still visualize it. This is one visualization which does not show the relative air speed. So it really only shows how the air is accelerated by the plane. And so basically this really shows how the wake turbulence is generated on almost any plane, but depends on the speed. But this one has a lot more obviously than a very small one. So one interesting thing here is we're going to use that to create accurate wake turbulence in the world, and this can animate effects like whatever. So ideally we want to fly through cloud and make it spin, but also dust which comes from the ground, all these effects. So here I didn't really do anything. I just took the 747, turned on the CFD, turned on the visualization, and it's raw out of the box, right? I didn't touch any parameter, anything. It just simulates it as it should. And what all this is going to lead into helicopters. So here I'm showing a little bit of a preview of what helicopters can do. So I'm using this one because it's already there, but you can see how in real time you get all the airflow. And here you can really see why on helicopters it's so important, because well, the helicopter is always creating airflow that interferes with itself. It's like a super prop wash, right, on an airplane, but completely changes the lift of every rotor here. And here you see when I slow down, now I get a vortex in the front, and this feeds back into the propellers, and so the air is constantly faster or slower, and the lift efficiency is always depending on what you did before, right? And you can see it's persistent, right? Depending on what I did before, the air is already impacted, and also by the weather, the wind, and the turbulences, and it feeds back. So it's much richer than a hard-coded effect on the helicopter, because depending on what you did on the ground, you're gonna run into your own vortex. You see here, they're going on the right. If I'm going back left, I'm running into my own sort of, it looks like a whirlpool of air here. But you see how it's much more impacting on a helicopter, especially if you're hovering close to the ground, than for a plane. And so this gives us, I would say, native and free simulation of ground effects, because, well, the air is bouncing off, so it's going slower, and you get the ground effect. You get here the vortices. It looks almost like a wingtip vortice when you're flying forward. And well, these are all native in the simulation, and this is basically really a preview of what helicopters are going to be later in 2022.
Thank you, Seb. And all of this is incredible. I think you mentioned it throughout your presentation, but when can we start to expect to see some of these changes in the sim, in some of the planes?
Propeller update is coming with sim update 8. 3 planes. It's the Cessna 208 turboprop, the King Air 2 propeller turboprop, and the Cessna 152. So it's going to be available for plane makers, so they can just. I mean, I tested it on a few planes. You just copy the propeller block of the Cessna 152 on another piston engine, and because there's already usually the diameter and the moment of inertia is already there, and you already get 95% of the performance. So it's very, very easy to port. And then if you want to really do the fine tweaking, you can get it perfect. And it was the same for the King Air, right? Basically, you reuse the propeller of the 2.8 and had just to do a little, like 10 minutes of tweaking. So that's sim update 8. And this thing here you're seeing in front of us, this will be online on sim update 9. And we will start to basically same thing, open it on some planes. So some planes, instead of having hard-coded prop wash, will get native prop wash. And this will be available as a visualization. So this can be turned on any plane just to visualize, but it doesn't feed back. So basically you see the airflow, but the prop wash will not actually hit the tail, so it's not going to do anything. But you can still see what happens. And so the visualization is going to be available sim update 9, and this is going to be open for plane makers from sim update 9 if they want to start playing with it, and maybe same thing, have a native prop wash.
Awesome, thank you so much. That's really great especially for plane makers out there who are excited to use the changes here.
Maybe one more. I have more comment because I was reading the chat, and I'm very happy that you guys are as happy about this as we are, because I think it's awesome work. Somebody said, "Hey, you used to do feature discovery videos," and I just wanted to say, Seb, you're still planning on this, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So this is just I mean, it's what was fantastic. It's so easy to make videos with this system because whatever you shoot, there's always like, so this little tornado which came up blue on the King Air video, I didn't expect this at all. And every time I made a video on shooting something, there's something new and something different. And obviously there's going to be feature discovery series with a little bit more detail on how to use the system and more of the different, like maybe a stall, or maybe what happens if there's wind and more different angles, like more. We'll have more time in the feature discovery.
Yeah, I think you scheduled it for February 7th. I just wanted to say, given how accurate this is, right? There's I would say just about all the world's aircraft manufacturers have taken notice how accurate the sim really is, and we'll have a lot more to say about this. But like, I think this shows you that this is about as accurate as you can make it, and we are closely tied to companies that make aircraft, big ones and small ones all over the planet. So I just wanted to mention that. Because sometimes people say, "Oh, this is more of a game than a sim." This is completely false. This is totally a sim.
Yeah.
And I think we're showing it now. Anyways, all right.
Okay, we are on to the feedback snapshot.
I want to see more. It's so beautiful.
So
yeah.
I just love that the visualizer is going to be available in the sim for anyone to pop it on to see what's going on. I think that's cool.
Yeah, the feedback snapshot, this was interesting. So Jane communicated, and it happened, right? She said, "Hey, people would like a little bit more information about the top 10." So we did that. It sort of makes this section a little bit, we can talk about it more, but we are literally saying what is happening on the top 10. So we can pick a few. Like, I think we should talk about the top one because it comes up all the time. Marcel, maybe you can give a quick update.
Oh, I was not prepared for that, Jörg. Thank you. So weather API, it's always under investigation because we, as you may know, we are looking for some solution to at least expose the terrain and the weather here, so people can use that for the modes. Helicopters, we just talked about that. Chinese localization, that's on New York. It's ongoing.
It's locked.
Yeah. Multi-screen functionalities that comes with what we did for DirectX 12. We're still improving our rendering engine. So multi-screen functionalities is part of that. The replay functionality is missing. It's not the case anymore. It's there in the dev mode. Maybe we can get some feedbacks there. To be honest, I don't know really what people are thinking of this tool and its use or not. That would be helpful. Maybe I didn't spend too much time on that particular topic.
Yeah, Jim,
on the forums.
Topic. I think that would be great, actually, because we don't, we basically say, "Hey, this is in beta. What do you guys think?" And then we haven't heard much. So
DirectX 12. Yes, we know that we are still doing some stabilization and improvements, and then will become more features. Maybe you could talk also about the. Well, I think we'll talk about that later. Like some surprises with NVIDIA owners, cards owners. The scenario open up the weather system to the third-party dev. I already talked about that. It's a bit redundant with the first one. The scenario gateway system, we've got somebody that has started to work on that, like a dedicated resource. So it's going to happen. Yes, the LSS. I've seen that before. Improve AI traffic. This is yet on the table too. We want to dedicate somebody to rework on the system, because the system we've got is pretty much what FSX was having. We patched it, and I think it's not sufficient anymore, and we want to redo that. So that's on the schedule. Most probably starting in April. Gliders, seaplanes, soaring planes, Yog. Maybe you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think instead of rattling it down, I think you see that just about everything has been started. We don't give end dates when we don't know, because some of this work is a lot. Like multi-screen, I see in the chat a lot of people ask for multi-screen. The team knows that it's a feature that's wanted. We are saying it's in 2022. We can't tell you exactly when in 2022, but people are working on it. The helicopters you saw, Seb's doing awesome. There's the team behind it, obviously, also. So all these things are moving forward, and as we have dates, just watch. I mean, this thing is getting updated weekly, so we will put the latest dates in as we get clarity on dates. But it's all planned for this year, and this one, I made it longer, right? I think there was some feedback. Can we get more? So I think I have the top 50 things. So we update that. We have a meeting every week where we talk about this, where exactly everything is at, and then on the bugs. So there was a request, can we get this type of detail on the bugs? And honestly, so we tried that. And when you go into the threads of these bugs, it literally is like 30 things in some cases. Like photogrammetry is not just the perception that something was somehow not as high res as it once was, which wasn't really quite right, but also, hey, can we get some in, a country of the world? So we need and I leave that to you, Jane, to figure this out, but we need to get a little bit more granular, because we want to listen. We are listening, that. And we want to be very transparent of what is being done. But some of these things are now thousands and thousands of entries, and they literally talk about 15 things. So like updating one line is actually kind of the wrong thing. So Jane, up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think moving forward, we're going to see what we can do in the forums to really get this top bugs list. We want, we're trying to get one bug per thread, so that way we can really comment on each one and give you status updates on everything, so it's all accurate. So we're gonna see what we can do to really to tweak that a little bit in the forum, so we can get a really nice top bug snapshot for everyone, and be able to do what we did for the wish list section, which would be really helpful for everybody. So expect some changes in the future. We'll keep you updated in the forum. So,
I mean, maybe I wanted to give like a little a reminder. There is an SDK Q&A actually in 2 weeks on the 7th, and Ellise and Eric I'll be there too. But Ellise and Eric are going to answer most of your questions. Please write more questions. I mean, they really are ready to go, and I hope to see you there. Those are a lot closer to the ground. Question and answer sessions, right? So be specific, as specific as you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think it's time for our Q&A. We have a ton of questions I've been seeing, as well as a ton on the forums that we've already documented. So if you're ready to go, we'll dive right into this. All right, the biggest question, top question from the forum. Georg, I'm directing this one to you. So what is the status of sim functionality for complex airliners such as the PMDG?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, quite a few companies are working on complex planes. And what comes to mind when I think about that, I mean, there's Aerosoft and the Airbus line, DC Designs and their Concorde, which I can't wait for, honestly. Keep reading their Facebook page. Phoenix Sims 320, Indie Simulations 310, PMDG has their Boeing line. There's several A220s coming. So quite a few are in development, and we are in contact with just about all of them to varying degrees, and some very tight. I would say, as you mentioned, PMDG. It's kind of funny. We've been in direct communication with them since April 2020. And that means there's 8 folks from PMDG, 20 folks from Asobo, also me, but I'm not saying anything, sitting in a Discord chatting every day. And there's literally messages going around every day. So we had and I know Robert was his heart on his, sort of on the platter when he said, nobody's listening to me. He's like, well, really? We just talked to you just today. So it's like, I mean, so just know that we are we're paying a lot of attention. The team is trying to respond immediately. And I think the one that Robert was referring to was actually quite simple. Seb, do you remember what that was?
Yes, I mean, it was surprisingly simple. And I think maybe there was a little bit communication issue on our side. We are following so many plane makers and people, and we didn't understand what it was, the question initially, because it seemed so simple and other plane makers had basically resolved it. It was just how to know when basically the loading is over, which we don't really have a loading, right? Because it's always loading. The sim is always streaming something. And in the SDK, there was already for maybe a year or so a camera status to know if there's an RTC going on, if it's basically interactive or not. And also there's another variable, which a Simba, which allows you to know if you basically have the input, or if the plane is basically not, if you're not plugged onto the plane and it's whatever, run by RTC or something. So it was really a question on how to use this, and yeah, everything was already there. Nothing to do with, I don't know, complex simulation of aerodynamics or anything. It was more like a how do we load and in and out question. And yeah, well, it took us some time to really understand what was the question, because it felt so simple, and I think it was maybe a miscommunication on how, yeah, but it was already there. The answer was there, it was in the doc, but I just okay, what is it that is really needed? And once it clicked, it was like immediately solved. So it's
yeah. So I would just say, in general, we are totally engaged with third parties that are attempting to make really complex things. The team helps whenever they can. We sometimes invite devs like PMDG and others to our SDK meeting, even to give us direct feedback. And like Hans was there just a few weeks ago, giving us his particular observations. And I'm actually very proud of the team. Like, I have to really stand up for the SDK team and the engine team. They are super customer friendly. They are reacting immediately. I mean, to the point of they drop everything they're doing just to help others out. So as far as complex airliners, to answer the actual question, we are quite sure that several of them will arrive in the sim in the coming weeks or months. The first PMDG Boeing plane, I'm personally very much looking forward to this, and Robert knows this, I've talked plenty. I hope it's among them. I mean, it's obviously a complex plane, and how quickly can the team get the plane up and running is really up to them. All we can do is help them with their questions, and they have an open channel to us.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jörg and Seb. The next question I have is another hot topic in the community, and that is live weather. And that question being, what's the future of live weather? There are certainly some changes in Sim Update 7 that the community is curious about, and what's coming down the line as far as any fixes and implementation of METAR, stuff like that. So I'm going to push that, I think, to Martial, if you have any comments you want to make on that.
Okay, the future of live weather. Well, there's plenty of future for live weather because it will never be done, I think. The modelization of weather is still, I mean, even for the professionals, they're still a work in progress. So we had the chance to work with the great partners that understood the constraint we've got for including the METAR in their model. So we are lucky enough to have the only model that has been created for a flight sim. And yet there are still some issues. There are some issues on our side. There are still some issue for interpreting the data. There are also still some issue on maybe on the model itself, but we are working on that. So I can tell you that since the beta that happened for Sim Update 7, we already did a lot of fixes. Some were obvious, like the fixes we did for this 10SM METAR visibility that were not interpreted correctly. So we also had, like, I'll go to list, but it's so long of fixes. We had live weather clouds on ground, and there's no appearing as fog. That's super important regarding fogs and low altitude. I know that now we can display fogs below the sea level. So on some areas like the Dead Sea, it's way much better. So we fixed some conversions unit issues we get by the pass also. But yet we still know that we've got some improvement to do. One of the improvements we need to bring is linked to the rendering system for the cloud themselves. For instance, we know that we are not displaying thin layers cloud correctly. So sometimes on the meta you can see that there's an override situation, but this override in the weather we're getting, the information we're getting is a so thin layer of clouds that it's not displayed. So we've got to improve that. We also know that we've got still some what we call the meta bubbles, because the meta and the rest of all the information we're gathering from the weather systems are not merged well enough. So this has yet been improved, but it will be still something we want to improve during the times. It will always be something we're going to work on. I mean, if you look at our planning, it's not like the weather and the rendering of the sky is like considered as done someday. It will be always something we will try to improve and work on.
And I'm seeing a question in chat here. Would you be able to explain there's been that bug recently where the live weather kind of goes down daily between certain hours?
Yeah.
So what's happening there, and is there a fix coming for that?
Oh, the fix is done. It was server side, so it should be already fixed for everybody. The situation is pretty simple. This bug was happening between 11 p.m. and midnight time. Basically, it means 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, or 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock here in France. So it's a situation that our testers and the developers never caught. So that's why getting some feedback from the community is pretty important, because there's no way we can reproduce every situation all over the globe. So it was like a pretty obvious bug, and as soon as we knew about it, it was fixed like within the hour. But it's the case where, yes, with like having this representation of the Earth and all the situations, all planes, all time of the year, all kind of weather, it creates like so much situation on which we can't be sure at 100% that we can't have any issues here. So yeah, that was linked to the fact that we are not working from 1 to 2 a.m.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you so much. All right.
You're welcome.
Next big topic I have here. Yes, I'm going to say the word Xbox. I see you, chat. So there is certainly perception in the community right now, Jorg. Xbox players, with them feeling a little less than, they're not seeing as many third-party aircraft come through. There's a few bugs. There's some bugs in there with Xbox crashing. So let's just talk about Xbox a little bit. For example, can we get an update on the issues kind of preventing the release of some third-party aircraft on Xbox?
Yes, so I actually looked at some stats before the meeting. So we have 68 aircraft total in the marketplace. There's actually more in other marketplaces as well that it hasn't come to us yet, but we have 68 on PC and 43 of which are on Xbox. And we have 12 more submitted from developers. So that's just a matter of like the next few weeks, because I don't know if you noticed, but our marketplace team is quite big now. You know, there was such an overwhelming amount of content that we probably underestimated that. So we hired a bunch of people, and I think they submitted 100+ things last week. Some are fixes, some are new, right? It's going to be that. So I think 55 out of 68 planes are going to be on Xbox within the next 2 weeks or something. There are a few that are not, like, and for example, notable exceptions are the CRJ, the Twin Otter, the PMDG PC6. So that is all true. And just to explain that, so unlike a PC, a console is considered a closed environment. You know, consoles always had the problem is that they can't be hacked, they shouldn't crash. Yeah. And anyways, but they can't be hacked. And so everything is in a sandbox. So And then some of the plane makers, specifically people that have been in the industry for a long time, they have a lot of code that they wrote in C++. And C++ is a security risk if you don't have it in a sandbox. So we basically invented, like, work on something called WASM. And that translation keeps it safe. So it's in a sandbox, but it's some amount of work, and B, and the time we ran into this was actually the PMDG DC6. So we tested it, we announced it. I don't know if you remember, we actually put a trailer up on our own website saying, hey, Xbox Wire is the website, right? So we put a trailer up saying it's coming. And then we launched it and it didn't work. And we had obviously spent weeks, if not months, testing it on Xbox. And the difference is we test, and the way this works is we test on something called development kit, which is essentially the same as the retail kit, except some security things. And it worked on the dev kit just fine. And we put it out in the marketplace and it didn't work because it broke some rules of the console. And maybe just to put it in perspective, I don't know how many of you are gamers. There really isn't anything like a third-party open marketplace on a console. It doesn't really exist. But Microsoft Flight Simulator actually is a big deal at Microsoft, and the platform team committed. They said, we want to enable this scenario. We want to bring third-party planes with essentially C++ code in a sandbox to the platform. And that's where it's currently at. So it's with the platform team. We need the platform team to make this real and to keep the platform safe, right? We don't want that Xbox to get hacked because some third-party plane on Flight Sim, right? That would be bad PR. So they're committed. It's multiple teams on the platform side, and it's going to take a few months is the reality. We have done what we can. We are actually talking about, there is sort of a way we could do it as sort of a Kludgy hack that we've been discussing, but we're evaluating the long-term implications if we really do this. So we could get the plane to use sooner, but there might be some not so great things happening once the platform team actually enables the functionality. So that's the trade-off. Well, we are highly motivated, as you know. There's tons of people on Xbox. When I said that at the outset, we have literally probably added 1 million people just over the holidays. A lot of them are on Xbox, and they deserve that they can play everything. So we are really considering this right now. The platform, the good news is the platform's doing it. Yay, that is great. And then we might be doing something shorter term, because the platform thing might take, I mean, it could take 6 months. We don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully that explains it.
It does. Yes. Thank you so much.
Baseball. Here you go.
Yep. Absolutely. And I saw our next question in chat, and that is, do we have any clear direction or some of the improvements that are coming to DX12 over the year?
Yes. So basically, we have been working on a what we call here a separate branch, where we've done prototypes, tests, improvements. So we have done we have actually implemented DLSS and prototyped it, and were very positively surprised by the. It works basically much better than we thought. It brings basically either a big quality improvement or a big performance improvement with the same quality on the GPU side, of course. And so definitely we're going to bring that to DX12. So basically what is happening is we are working on a branch where we are basically improving DX12. It's going to have DLSS, it's going to have multi-screen optimizations, and the team is trying to bring, so we're merging this into the main branch, and then it's going to come out in a sim update. We're working, hoping for maybe 10, but maybe not, maybe if it slips. So that's currently our target, but it may be slipping later into the year. I think on the roadmap, you said 22. We don't have exact date yet, but we're trying to get it into 10, but maybe it could be 11 or after. But so yeah, DLSS is working. It's great, great performance boost, especially at high resolutions, and other things are coming with it.
Yeah.
We were talking about multi-screen. This is part of the also the improvement we would like to bring. It has been started to be efficient in this branch, but we can't commit yet. We would like to be well, we've got also performances issue where we do a multi-screen, so still some work to do, but it's in the way.
Okay. Thank you. Another chat question I saw, is there going to be a Sim Update 8 beta, and will it be public?
Yes, we should have, yes. So it should be
just about now.
Yeah, it should be very soon.
Yeah, right after what update 7 is in market.
Okay.
Yeah. So on our side, the Sim Update 8 has been frozen. We're still working on to do some tests on it, and then it's going to be exposed to the beta branch.
Cool, thank you. Another forum question: could we have more frequent, quote-unquote, cleanup sim updates in the future?
Guess what? I made a big speech earlier this week, and had something to do with stability. I saw some numbers I didn't like, honestly. And so Sim Update 9 is going to focus on stability, because it's simply, the numbers aren't like bad, but it's often enough that I think it's annoying, and we hear that from you guys. Actually, so just go in the forums and it's like, yep, it's crashing for some people, and then we had our user research team reached out to some folks, and they said very similar things. So we know we've got to focus on it. So the next 6+ weeks are going to be focused on that. So
yeah, can I hide a word on that? So when you're developing a sim like that, there's always a balance to find between new features and what, for instance, Seb has shown you, and spend some time on malfunctions or think we want to stabilize. So it's always like a balance on what we should bring for the next sim update. So even Sim Update 8, we spent some time to read the forums and to try to find the most annoying issues that people were encountering, so we can fix them. So we spent a lot of time to try to improve the sim by just not bringing some new stuff on the features. So Sim Update 8 is already embracing this philosophy, I would say. And for Sim Update 9, so yes, we want to find those stability issues. The problem is every single stability issues we add internally in Sobo were fixed, obviously, because it's like the problem here. I was talking earlier in this video that we are struggling because there's a lot of different use cases in this simulation. There's a lot of different hardware. There's a lot of different software. Even drivers sometimes can create some issues. We also have like different modes, so it's pretty hard to understand exactly what creates the crashes. So please, it's like a request to the community. Every time you have a repro, please use the forum, be as precise as possible, explaining what kind of hardware you're using, what was the situation, like the plane you're using, the airport you went from, maybe your flight plan, all the conditions that could help us to do some reproduction here, because it's reproduction on those issues really time consuming. Like for stability, we can also talk about the stability we've got in performances. We know that some people are encountering some performance issues on long flights. We are deeply and actively trying to reproduce that. I've got a list somewhere on how many long flights we did, like within the last three weeks. Like I would like to thank our testers, Maxime, Valentin, Romain. Like Guillaume Sarisson, he did a flight that was more than 24 hours, for instance. So yeah, it's very time consuming. It takes a lot of time to try to reproduce issues. So the test team here is really struggling to try to reproduce that, to help us to understand exactly what's going on here. We also have some people have for long flights have this black screen issue when everything's shutting down. Same here. We have no repro. So please, if you can help us, that would be really, really welcome. Please help us to find this repro. And so definitely we'll spend more time on that. But it's complicated because it takes so much time to find this repro on bugs. And without repro, it's just guessing. And when you just guess crashes and fixes, you can't be always sure that it's going to be fixed for good.
Yeah, maybe another point, like maybe we talked about this here already, but right now, as we just said, we have to wait for a world update to be in market before we can start the flight. But a lot of people call beta, we call it flighting. We're going to try to make world updates such that they are not in that system, that they're basically downloadable from the marketplace. That's at least the goal. And at that point, we would have almost 2 months, at least 6 weeks or so, to flight and get feedback. And so some people were saying, hey, you have regressions and stuff. It's true, because we put highly complex software out there that is really just, it's not tested enough, right? We need more configurations out there and people actually in the real world playing. That's not just our setup, because we have plenty of testers, nearly 50 testers now, but that's not enough. So we need more time and hope that you guys are flighting or testing the beta, and then we're going to make sure that it's stable going forward. But it's a laser focus of the next 6 weeks. Yeah, for sure. And by the way, Sim Update 8, I don't want to say, hey, we're focusing on crash bugs because some Sim Update 8 isn't stable. That's not the case. Sim Update 8 is exactly what the team said we would do, fixing a bunch of bugs. There was this thing with NVIDIA. I'm sure people saw that over the holidays. There was like a whole ton of bugs associated with their driver issue, or what we perceived as their driver issue. So we think Sim Update 8 is more stable than what you have now. But there is still crash bugs that we know about that we need to go after. So that's the focus.
And just a reminder for chat, since I'm seeing a lot of Sim Update 8 questions, there is actually another dev Q&A that's going to happen, I think, right before Sim Update 8. So we'll dive in even deeper, probably in that one, into some of the bug fixes and that kind of stuff for Sim Update 8. Just so you don't think that we don't have more time to talk about it, we definitely do. Next question I have here, this is going back to when we were talking about the Fokker. Is that going to include a PDF manual?
So we're trying to figure out how to get PDFs out there. I mean, we can put it on the website, but we can't put it on Xbox. So that's actually the problem. So remember the Junkers? So Oliver has written a manual, and Ellise is still here. I think you've written a manual. I haven't read it, but I think it's coming. And the plan is to make manuals for all future plans. But we still have this, there's a work stream that is trying to figure out how we can get these things on Xbox. Some people say, hey, maybe put it on a tablet in the sim, so there's a little bit of work coming, but honestly, I would like just the information out there. So I think as an intermediate solution, maybe we put it on the website and people can download it somehow. We need to talk about this, but I heard you, we promised it, we're doing it. So it's just a question of mechanics, really.
Okay, thank you. This question is for Seb. Can we talk about the bug? You get a performance hit when you kind of pop out instruments or panels into other screens. I know you were looking at that earlier, so can you tell us a little bit about that bug in it?
Yeah, so there's a partial fix coming on Sim Update 8. When I mean partial, it affects some computers. So this is and it doesn't fix it on mine. So it's, but it's a complex problem between, it's the vsync which is fighting when we have different windows, and basically somehow for some reason it adds a vsync when it shouldn't, and it just basically blocks the GPU. But on some computers with Sim Update 8, it's better. It doesn't block anymore. So I think it's a partial fix, and we're trying to find and to look on the configurations where it's not working. And I mean, whenever we have a solution, we're gonna put it into a Sim Update. But yeah, partially fixed in Sim Update 8.
Okay. Thank you. Open question for any of you. Do we have an update on achievements that are currently unavailable or impossible to achieve? So there's some glitched achievements out there. I'm seeing question chat about that.
Or know anything about it. Typically, you can't pass certification if that's the case. And we have to actually go, every time we do a sim update, we have to go through certification. Or frankly, right now, every update we do, World Update 7 is currently going through a certification. It went in on whenever, Monday, I think. So that's just a bug we don't know about, honestly. If you have something like this, that's super surprising. Because Xbox takes like the achievements super seriously, right? It's one of the cool new things that Xbox had early on was that kind of structure. So please let us know exactly what that is.
Okay, thank you. All right. So do we have any AI traffic logic and behavior improvement plans for 2022?
Yes, I talked about that earlier, about having maybe too much legacy of the past, and having us just trying to patch the system we had on FSX, and it's most probably the right time now to start from scratch, or at least to rewrite a significant amount of the code we've got there. But yet we will see that with Simulate 8 we did a bunch of fixes also there. I know that some AI planes were not able to take off, for instance. It's not the case anymore. So it's still an in-progress situation, but I think that starting from April, we'll have a dedicated resource on that. So we can spend some time on not rebooting, but almost rebooting the system.
Yeah.
This was just discussed. I just saw Matt Nishan piping in the chat. Hey, Matt. The core sim team, that is a strike team internal between Working Title, Microsoft, and Asobo, just discussed this, and there is a roadmap exactly how to improve the AI and landing, for example. Awesome. But you'll hear more. We'll probably bring some of the experts in, because I think this is a larger discussion that we need to have.
Yes, and also the relationship between AI and ATC. I know that on the forums people are exactly right now. People are talking about ATC and the relationship between the AI traffic and the ATC.
Yeah.
This is part of the like it's global. We want to embrace that.
Yep. Okay. This question is for Seb, going back to your presentation when you were showing the prop wash. So does the prop wash, is it going to interact with objects like trees, buildings, and water, or will it be terrain?
So currently this is already natively interacting with the plane itself. And then, so we have a API that we used, which basically allows to look up this airflow that you saw, for example, on the tarmac. And so we're looking at using that for I don't know, you've probably seen in the sim when there's wind, it brushes the grass. Well, basically using that as an input. So these are things we will look at later this year, and using basically whatever comes out of this airflow system for whether it's dust, particles, things like that. And so it's possible, and also on the for people who make planes, same thing. They will have this API where they can look up and say, hey, what's the temperature here? What's the pressure here? What's the airspeed here? And so they can, for example, one thing which is much more on the pure simulation side is well, depending on where you put your pitot, sensor, like the little hole on the plane. When there's a hole, let's say on the right side, and you skid into the wind, there's more air coming into the pitot, like the static pressure hole, things like that. Basically, it's a bit more complex than just incoming air. It's turbulent and being pushed by the airplane itself. And so little things like that could improve just the simulation, or icing. You can look up basically the temperature, because it's a quite big difference. It can be a few degrees difference based on the pressure drop over the wing. And so we can have icing now where there is lift, or things like that were not possible before. And so that's the kind of improvements that we will bring, and that also plane makers can use to make the simulation better.
Yeah. Thank you, Seb. Going back to improvements when we were talking about Xbox and the Xbox platform, is there any push to eventually allow Xbox players to have the ability to import .plm files from external sources, maybe using something like OneDrive?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the security things we need to be careful with. It's just the nature of the beast. I mean, there's a whole bunch of questions about liveries, and short stories. I just talked to Ellise right earlier this morning because I'm trying to get Air France convinced to give us 2 liveries for the Fokker, like it's Air Orient and Sedna or something, and they're thinking about it, and it's great. So the KLM folks, Bas is his name, who's really helping us a ton. He's really helping, right? So it's the goal is to get my goal continues to be to get all the airliner liveries that exist. It's just one nibble at a time. It's a little takes a lot of energy, but I want to do it. And then I think because ultimately we want to update them. And there's a whole bunch of detail that you never get. Like just this morning, I heard there's like 14 different liveries, and they obviously are flight aware, so we even know which planes they're on, so we can do a really, really accurate job. That's the goal: be as accurate as we can be. But so we have actually much more than people think as far as liveries. But we haven't really put everything in yet because of memory issues that we talked about like a while ago. You know, we need to be careful to just not dump huge amounts of data into the sim without being really cognizant of what's going on already with memory. But that's the goal. And then as far as like custom liveries, yeah, there's other ways to do it. Like obviously games like Forza managed to do it. So and we are talking about that. It's I'm not sure it's a 2022 thing, honestly, but we're at least talking about it.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Just a couple more questions here before we end. We got about 2 minutes. Someone in chat here is asking, would we be able to put out a list of coming soon aircraft on aircraft? I
like that idea. I think I'll think about that.
Sure.
So we're actually doing something very similar. Like we are, and you know, they're third-party companies, right? They ship when they want to. So you have to take dates with a grain of salt. I mean, if you pay attention to the game industry, things slip all the time. And third-party planes, they will ship it when they think it's ready. And so we don't have any control over it. All we can do is remove friction, which we are doing. I don't know if you noticed. For example, we have this thing, right? We're trying to be very accessible and also a worldwide SKU. So we're actually translating a bunch of stuff, and it takes time. Like people send us their description text late, and that actually causes sometimes a delay of a week or two, right? And so just recently, last week actually, with the Twin Otter, we were sitting there like, man, should we just finish the translation or should we get the Twin Otter out there? And we just decided, let's put it out there English only, and then we will bring the translations of the sales text or whatever and the description text in a week or two, right? And I think that's the right trade-off. Ultimately, we want to be day and date. We can't force anybody, right? They can do whatever they want with their plane, but we want to be a great partner. We try to help where we can, and we're going to try to get that number to zero delta days between shipping on the website and shipping in the marketplace.
Yep, perfect. And one more popular question I've seen throughout full stream is, are there any plans or updates on bringing replay mode to Xbox? Right now, beta is available on dev mode only.
So replays consumes memory and hard drive space. So it's something which is complicated in Xbox. So far we've decided to remove this option. But it's not that we don't want to use that. It's that it creates some issues, and we would love to find a solution for that. But for now, we don't have any.
Okay.
Hey Jane.
Yes.
I just want to say, I see, like, first off, thank you everybody for joining. That's the first thing. You spent a good amount of time with us, and I hate to cut this off a little bit too early. Do you want to do another 15 minutes? And just answer questions out of the chat.
If you three are available,
hey, we're doing this
definitely
once
willing
a month.
to keep asking questions.
It's been 2 months, right? So come on.
Absolutely. Then let's keep going with some questions. Here, a popular one for the forums was, when could we receive to expect working windshield wipers? Could help with realism with snow and other situations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's a discussion we had internally for wipers. So we had like a bunch of artists, coders, and technical artists that made a meeting and a plan to make it happen. So it's time consuming on this. So we've got everything's plan there. It has not been prioritized yet. So we will see when, I was talking about having a balance between new features and stabilizing and everything here. So we've decided not to do that right now, but we are thinking about that. So maybe a bit later. Most probably not this year.
Okay. Thank you for the answer, Martial.
I want to say something else. Like, so
Yes.
so 2022, internally I say it's the year of the third-party planes. But what it really means also is that it's the year of the sim. Like last year, we had the Xbox SKU that I think was great work was done, specifically optimization, but it was a distraction. Then we did a huge effort to get Reno up and running. I think you probably know this if you played Reno. It's crazy town. And then we did the Game of the Year edition also. And this year we're going to be a little bit more constrained on massive content updates that take like 50 people's time, right? We would rather have the 50 people work on getting the core sim better. And we're looking at the feedback snapshot literally all the time. So expect that. That's the goal. That end of 22, we all look at each other in the eye and said, you know what? There's a shit ton of improvements in the core sim space, and that's what we want.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Really with you,
yeah.
I mean, I would hope we will get this done this year.
Back to one of Seb's videos, question for you, Seb. Showing those airflow visualizations that are going to be available, is that going to be in dev mode, or is that something separate? If you have any information on that yet.
It's currently in dev mode, so I don't know where we're going to put that, but it's we will see. We will see.
Yeah.
Currently, it's using dev mode features, which are I would say not the fastest in terms of display. So it's okay, right? It slows down just a little bit. Obviously, we could invest time in making it a more optimized GPU shader, but well, I don't know how necessary that is. So I probably dev mode to start with, and we'll see. I think it's something. Yeah, I think it's something. I mean, personally, when I switch it on, I use it quite a lot, and I you get these moments like, oh, that's why. I mean, all these things you learn when you fly airplanes, and you always. I mean, you can't see the air, right? I mean, most of the time. Maybe when there's a little bit of clouds or whatever, but most of the time you can't see it. And when you can all of a sudden see what's going on, you're like, oh yeah, okay, now I understand what's happening. It remembers me the wake turbulence videos we watched to understand how dangerous this is. And people, they have this smoke. They fly pretty much through smoke to see it. And so yeah, I think it's something which could maybe become something more like base sim, which you could turn on like an option, but that would be a significantly more work because it's easy and fairly fast to do a quick debug dev mode option, and it's harder to do and something very optimized and a nice shader, I would say. But I mean, depends how useful that would be. We could do that as a more like a core option, like a render option or something that you can turn on and off.
Yeah, thank you, Seb. Do we have any update on the announced plane a few months ago, ATR?
Yeah, Hans is working on it. So the model looks awesome. I think Hans I think you probably know this. He finished the Twin Otter. The Twin Otter took a little longer. Not that it's our plane, but it took a little longer than I think they had hoped. And Hans was the team at Asobo kept working on the ATR to the degree that there's a role. It's a collaboration, right, between the two teams. So I think the R team kicked ass, got the plane really to an awesome state, sent it over to Hans, and Hans is now starting to work on it, or has started working on it probably a few weeks ago. But it's just going to take the time it takes, right? And we said it's an expert level plane, so we're going to make it an expert level plane. And time is less important than quality here. That's what I would say. Okay.
Thank you.
But we probably will invite Hans in for some update here. I think he's super fun and knows a ton. Why not?
Yeah, I think we'd all love that. Do we have any updates on anything VR related? We haven't talked a lot about VR today, so any 2022 plans overall?
On the VR side, I'm pretty sorry because I don't have the list of the bug fix we did for Simulate 8, but I can tell you that the team has worked hard on that. So I don't have any details here. There's too many things. I don't know them by heart. I'm very sorry.
Let's make this a thing for next month, and we really prepared for it because we both sit in the VR strike team, but it's there was a lot of other distractions going on, so it hasn't been a focus over the holidays. But we are doing a bunch of planning right now, so we should talk about it next month.
Yes, we've got a team of 6 that we're working on VR, so I'm pretty sorry for. I feel bad for them because I'm not in a position to talk about their work. I'm very sorry about that. And yes, and we consider VR as a platform like Xbox or PC. So every time we're doing something, VR is part of the conversation, obviously. So it's not forgotten.
I mean, for what it's worth, right? There's plans we do for the, we're doing planning for 22, 23, and I believe there is a horizon to be hit with VR that is a killer feature that might not happen in 22, but in 23, I think we can do something awesome. And you're right. Somebody just said there's some really interesting work going on, both hardware-wise and software-wise out there. I was like, it's true. And we want it. It's just a question of when.
Yeah. I know we already kind of talked about performance over long-haul flights and testing trying to repro, so we can fix that. Can we expect, since Sim Update 9 is going to focus on stability, that those are bugs that we're going to drill in on for that update? Seeing a lot of more questions about the performance bugs, as well as the one where the FPS drops from.
Yeah. So basically, yes, we will test and try reproduce. This is the kind of bug. As soon as we get it in a so basically, yes, if someone gets it and has a way to reproduce it 100%, then yes, it's gonna be fixed as soon as we find it. That's why if people encounter it and they have any clue on, I don't know what. Is it hardware related? Is it plane related? Is it whatever? Is it happening with this add-on, or what is the thing causing it? If it's very random and maybe like 24-hour flight and someone sees it once and then never again doing the same thing, then it's gonna be harder. It's basically what happens.
It looks like some people have some FPS drops, but some others don't have any. And we still don't understand why. And obviously, we don't have any here. That I would love to get some. So as Seb says, once we've got a repro case, it's pretty easy to find what's going on here.
Okay.
That's not the case yet.
Looks like we might have someone who can repro. Well, we'll talk. Cool.
That would be great.
Fantastic. Okay, a few more questions here. This one was logged a little earlier. So the question is, several precision formation flying teams have formed over the past few months, which is pretty cool. One feature that is requested in the future would to have the ability to toggle on and off the ghosting of other planes when flying in close proximity. Is that something that could be done?
Oh, I guess yes. It's not something we talked about. I don't think it's the kind of features that won't cost that much. So yes, why not? Yeah, I could bring that.
Okay, yeah, I will say I've seen some of the formation teams, and it's like a feat of the simulator. They are incredible. So really cool. Thanks for forming teams and being a part of the community, guys, on that. Okay, let's take one or two more questions, and then we'll log off. Thank you, York, for letting us go over a little bit here. Another forum question: can the MSFS development team look into the MS Store installation issues?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, at Microsoft, a lot of us are talking about the store. I mean, honestly, the store got better. I know the store has us as a scenario because we are a very large product. But there's also things that we can do on our side. So just to answer that part, the store is looking into it, but it's the Microsoft store, right? It's not exactly the fastest moving boat on the seas. because they have so many scenarios that they need to worry about. And then on our side, we talked about what we can do better. I don't know, Marcel, if you want to add anything to this, but we're very well aware of the issue.
So we've got we talk to them. We've got a relationship, and as you say, I was complaining, but I was talking about this various amount of configuration and flight scenarios we've got in flight sim. I can imagine that the complexity of their work is 1,000 times the one we've got. So yeah, we're working with them.
Mm-hmm. One more question here. When are you planning on making improvements to the InSim marketplace?
Yeah, we didn't talk about this because honestly, I feel a little bit sheepish about it. So Sim Update 8 actually contains something that we call Marketplace 2.0. We try to make the marketplace better and more discoverable and just a more elegant experience. And we tested it a fair bit. The results seem to be good. But I'm actually very curious what you all think once Sim Update is out in the wild, or just jump on the beta and just start telling us.
Yeah,
I think it's better. It looks cool. It's more functional.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. Well, I think that's it for today. Do you want to go another hour, Jorg?
No, I mean,
wrap
we're
it
back
up
in
there.
the monthly, right? Monthly is
Yeah.
better than, honestly, I was like, and I'm not saying I have withdrawal symptoms or something, but I think
Felt weird.
it's important to keep the conversation going, right?
Yes.
We do it in writing a lot, and I know we don't write back because we, somewhat can't, but just know we read just about everything we can. And then we have these sessions, and hopefully this was sufficiently interactive, right? Maybe there was a little bit too much presentation stuff. I saw comments, and I'll take that on. Maybe we'll dial that back a little bit. So, but we're trying to find the right balance. Hopefully it was good Q&A for you all.
Yes, thank you, Jorg, Seb, and Marcial. We appreciate you, chat. Thanks for tuning in today. Our next developer Q&A with this group will be towards the end of February before Sim Update 8 comes out. And don't forget, we have the SDK Q&A coming up here 2 weeks from now, on February 9th. We're going to have Jorg back as well as 2 SDK team members. So we'll see you then.
Ellise and Eric.
Huh?
Ellise and Eric.
Yes, absolutely. So you've probably seen them in the other SDK Q&As. So until then, we'll see you on the stream on Friday for our weekly community fly-in. And we hope you have a fantastic week and month, and we'll see you soon. All right, bye everyone.
Thank you all. It was fun.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.